Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Wednesday, June 18th. As you can see, 9:30 at night, so I am way behind today. I apologize if you look forward to these coming out at a certain time. But this is the video for YieldMax funds ULTY and LFGY. Those are the Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund and the Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income ETFs. Today is Declaration Day, Wednesday. It's a little bit different, so maybe it's not too big of a deal that the video is coming out late because there's no trading tomorrow with the federal holiday. Reminder, ETF_Inspector1 on X. I'll let you know things like, sorry I'm running late, the ULTY and LFGY video is still coming, or that the individual fund video is out, and I repost like YieldMax when they announce the distributions. So instead of reading it off of here, I've got it on a little chart that gives you some percentages and kind of tells you which one's the best. So we will start with that. All right, we're going to try to get through these pretty quick because it's going to be a little bit longer of a video. Got a lot going on, and it's past my bedtime before I'm even starting this video. So okay, this chart over here is the weeklies. Starting top to bottom, LFGY declared a 46.84 cent dividend or distribution. Chippy, a 40.56 cents. RDTY, 32.65 cents. GPTY, 32.26 cents. QDTY, 23.42 cents. SDTY, 22.33 cents. YMAG, 16.91 cents. YMAX, 14.24 cents. And ULTY, 8.75 cents. Put the highlight there next to the one that was the highest annual yield, being ULTY, and you're just in luck. ULTY is one of the stars of this video. So if you want to pause it, you can catch all the rest of the yields, right? I'm not going to read through all of them. These were today's closing prices, so that's the most current information. Next up, we got Group B. So these are the they pay every 4 weeks. Pallady being the most popular on this one. So they went with $3.26, which is a good bit lower than what you're used to getting from them. Marrow, $1.20 and a little extra, 20.73 cents. GDXY, 84.49 cents. NVIDIA, I think this is a pretty low one for NVIDIA, 67.21 cents. FBY, 53.63 cents. This is one of the ones that I cover in my other videos. Babo, 43.14 cents. Dips, 29.22 cents. JPMO, 27.74 cents. And Murney, 19 cents. Somehow in the other video I forgot to read Murney's, but Murney's the big winner over here, paying out a 103% annual yield. And again, if you want to pause the video, you can take a look at all those closing prices and annual yields, but I've got to save my voice because if you've seen these videos before, I got a lot of talking to do. So before we get into the trades, we'll take a 10,000 foot view and see how things went. ULTY up nearly 1.5%. You got a decent mixture of red and green. I don't know if it's quite, it might be about 50-50. Those are all the stocks within ULTY. Then we got to skip down a little bit. We get to LFGY up 1.19 cents percent, and then another somewhat even spread, maybe a little bit more green. But as far as big winners and big losers, Circle over up in ULTY, Circle Internet Group, that's the new one that has been on an absolute tear since it came out. Where is it? 33.82%. So absolute rocket since it came out. AppLovin was the biggest loser over here, 4.46 cents. And then when we go to LFGY, it's actually up here, Coin was their biggest winner, 16.32%, and BitDeer was their biggest loser at 7.13%. Okay, so that's the big picture. We'll get a little bit more in depth, but let's start with the trades, and we'll start with ULTY. Before we get into those, though, let's take a look. This was our guesstimate, right? So I should have just stuck with the IV, because then I would have made an amazing guesstimate. But they made 0.4 of 1 cent per share to pay us out, so we knew they weren't going to pay us that. The IV estimate came out to 8.64 cents, but it was very similar last week, and they paid out 9.5. So I went ahead and guessed 9.5. I should have stuck with that because the actual was 8.75 cents. So my guess was 8.5% off. So not great. I would have been like 1% off if I stuck with the IV. But okay. All right, on this, I apologize, right? So this is just to give you an idea of what I'm normally working with. When I download the file, intraday trades, get all the different trades I have to go through, but then all the sales and purchases of stocks themselves, they don't list the name, they just list the QSIP. So normally, that's what a lot of the time spent on these is having to look up one by one so I can fill in what they are. And there's other ways to do it too, but it's very long and tedious. I got home at 9 o'clock tonight, and I usually go to bed at 9 o'clock. So to put this video out, I had to get all this stuff done, and so I didn't get the time to put in strike prices over here. I mean, they're listed in the QSIP, so we can figure it out. I didn't get time to fill in all the expirations to make them plain, but again, they're listed in the QSIP. And I didn't take the time to look up every single stock to fill it in. What I can tell you is these are only purchases of additional shares of all the stocks that are already within the fund. There's no new stocks added, and they didn't sell out of any. So with that being said, right, you guys really didn't care if I read off line by line every stock, because then I'm going to tell you about the trades down here anyway. So all right. A handful of these, they went ahead and rolled to next week. With the rest of them, though, you'll see if it's just 2 lines, it's just a sell short or sell to open and a buy. This is just adding to the strategy that's already in play now that they have more shares. Like, for example, this one here, AppLovin, is going to be, it would line up with this number right here because 4,000 shares would allow you to sell 40 more contracts. And, oh, it could be this one, though. I think AppLovin's, I don't know. It's one of those two. But, so you get the picture. I could give another example. 360. So that's going to be this one right here. 44.35. Yep, ASTS is, I don't know. Never mind. Forget it. So anyway, so as I said, I'm coming unprepared, but I wanted to give you data. So Applied Digital, they did roll. They took a win, right? They closed out their Friday 12.50s for 3 cents and sold $12 strikes for next Friday for 30 cents. And then they went ahead and sold more based off of buying more shares. All in all, profiting $53,000. AppLovin, they just sold more calls to go along with the shares they purchased, $3,000 increase. ASTS, same thing, just selling to go with the new shares, $69,000 profit. Coin went through the roof, up over 16%, blew through the strikes on the call, so they had to pay to close them. $30, $36, right? Got absolutely smoked. So closed them out, sold new ones, took the loss, 1.6 million. Circle, same thing, right? Up 33% in a day. Good luck predicting that. So had to close these out. Actually paid less to close them than coins cost. So sold new ones for next week, $1.7 million loss. So you got a good idea of how today's trading is going to go when the first two trades come to over a $3 million loss. First Solar just selling to go with the new shares, 35,000. Hims and Hers, same thing, 36,000. Hood, same thing, 41,000. IonQ, LabU, same thing, 57,000 and 25,000. Mara, they had a winner, right? Closed them out for 3 cents, 4,660 contracts, sold new ones for 28 cents, and then sold some more to go with the new shares, totaling a profit of 128,000. MicroStrategy, and Nvidia selling to go with the new shares, 5,000 and 13,000 profit. Oklo, this looks like a win. Closing out 68s for this Friday, opening 67s for next Friday, paying 33, receiving a credit of 212, and then again selling more to go with the new shares, $436,000 profit. Palantir selling to go with the new shares, 10,000 profit. Reddit, another one that blew through its call strike price, so they closed them out for $12.76. Sold new ones for $2.18. So obviously that hurt. Almost $1.3 million loss. Rigetti selling to go with the new shares, 22,000 profit. SMCI closing out 3,460 contracts at 43. And selling new ones at $47.50 for next week. So obviously we blew past that 43 and a $614,000 loss. We got Tempest AI, TNA, and TQQQ, the two triple leverage funds, and Tesla. So these four all just selling new options to go along with the new shares that they just picked up today. $16,000, $14,000, $5,000, and $34,000 profits on those. Upstart rolling the $55 calls expiring on Friday, selling $62 calls for next Friday. You can see paying $352, receiving $137, and then selling some more to go with the new shares. $466,000 loss. Vertiv closing out their 115s for Friday, selling 122s for next Friday. You can see another loss, almost $5 to close them, about half of that to open the new ones, so $221,000 loss, as well as adding more, selling more options to go with the new shares. And then Vistra Corp selling more options to go with the new shares, $39,000 profit. So again, if you're new here, this isn't I usually have all my ducks in a row, have everything filled out, but I don't know, it just wasn't worth it tonight. So almost $5 million loss on the trading day. So that's 2 out of 3 days where we lost almost $5 million trading. But that's because Monday was the biggest single day increase for ULTY's value of funds to date, and I hit it today. Do you think today's will beat that? All right, so now we'll go through the holdings. If you see, so red, yellow, and green, like a stoplight. You can tell I inserted some new lines there, new rows. Red would be in the money, so that sounds like a good thing, but if you sold a call, you don't want it to be in the money, because if it's out of the money, it ends up being worthless. So you want it out of the money. So when it gets in the money, those are the ones that cost a lot of money to close. Yellow would be in our favor, but within 5% of being in danger, and then green being in our favor, greater than 5% away from the danger of getting in the money and having to pay to close. Orange would represent almost like a under construction, right? So that's how I show the options that have been closed out and rolled that we just talked about on the page before, because the holdings don't update till the following day. So with that being said, I think you're caught up. So we would just go through and see how they did. Okay, Applied Digital lost about 3.5% to 1061. It was a $500,000 decrease in value. They rolled their this set of options, the 1250s, and they still have $12 calls. These are further dated out. That's why they left them. They're 13.1% out of the money. App Lovin down about 4.5% to 344.37. Their calls are 8.89% out of the money. They're out till next Friday, so we're not too worried about them yet. $611,000 decrease. AST Space Mobile up over 10% to 44.35. Took their 43s 3% into the money, but they didn't close them out, so they're going to go ahead and wait till Friday. $2.5 million increase in value. Almost another $2.5 million increase in value from Coinbase with a 16.32% increase to $295.29. If you pay attention to them, they've been around $250 forever, so that's a big jump. They rolled all these options, so we don't need to talk about how far in or out of the money they are. Circle Internet Group, big winner for the day, 33.82% up to $199.59. $7 million increase in value single day. They rolled these ones expire on Friday, so we got new ones for next Friday, and they left these July ones that are 19.8% in the money. So obviously they're going to have a ton of intrinsic and extrinsic value, so you don't want to pay to close them out yet. All right, eToro had a good day, up 6.7% to 63.41. Still 2.5% out of the money with one trading day left. $500,000 increase in value. First Solar down 0.16% to 143.67. They've got calls that are 4.4% out of the money. These 150s are for this week, and these are for next week. That's why they're separated instead of all together. $19,000 decrease in value. Hims and Hers up over 3% to 61.07. That took their calls to 1.75 and 0.11% in the money. So they were both in our favor out of the money until today. But they're going to wait till Friday to close them out. $761,000 increase in value. Robinhood Markets up over 4.5% to 78.35. Another one that was in our favor before today and is now in the money, 3% and 1.72%, $1.1 million increase in value. IonQ up 4.18% to 39.63. Everything's still out of the money, but it's getting close. 2.2%, that's the biggest portion, 3,700 contracts. 5.98% on 1,000 contracts, and less than 1% on this last set. But these are for next week. That's why. Otherwise, they would line up in numerical order. The 40 would come before the 40.5. $888,000 increase in value. LabU, this is our first triple leverage fund, up 1.75% to 56.73. They're still 6.65% out of the money. $200,000 increase. Mara Holdings lost 1.23% to 14.49. They went ahead and rolled their 16s to next week at a different strike, and they already have some 1550s that are out till next week, 6.97% out of the money. I did get a question on one of the videos, so maybe I'll take a quick second to explain something here. In ULTY, they do what's called a collar strategy. That's where you own the shares, you're selling calls out of the money above your strike price as a way to make income, and then you're buying puts as like an insurance policy or a protection for if the share value drops. So you're making income from selling the calls. Your NAV, your value goes up if the value of the shares go up, and then the purchased put is protecting the NAV if the value of the shares go down. So the value of the shares will go down, but then the value of the put will go up. So it'll create some income to offset that, because they're not going to actually sell the shares. We can go into it deeper at another time, but so that's why I don't talk about these unhighlighted. The unhighlighted are all basically your insurance policies, the purchased puts. We're making money on what we're supposed to be making money on the sold calls. If we're making money on the purchased puts, that means the stock price is tanking, and we don't really want that. So as you'll see, we lost $4.5 million trading today, and the price of ULTY went up today because the share value went up that much. So, all right, back to the talking points. Just wanted to catch some people up, because I have gotten that question a couple times. Hopefully, whoever asked the question was watching. MicroStrategy down 1.64% to 369.03. That helped get us a little further out of the money, 2.97% with one trading day left, $295,000 decrease in value. NVIDIA up close to 1% to 145.48, taking 1% in the money, $224,000 increase. Oklo lost 1.19% to 62.02. These got far enough out of the money that they decided to go ahead and roll them. See, that 86-cent price on these options was as of close yesterday. So as another day ticked away and it lost another 1%, that got much cheaper. So they went ahead and closed them out for a win, sold next week's already. $285,000 decrease in value, though, on the value of the shares themselves. Palantir up a little over 1.25 to 139.96. They've got calls at 142 and 148 that are about 1.5 and 5.75% out of the money. $293,000 increase. Reddit up about 5.5% to 141.16. Not sure why they had 130. They had 131 sold out till next week. I guess everything's probably next week at this point, but they closed those out. They were too deep in the money, 7%. The others are still 9.8% out of the money, so they should end up expiring worthless. $1.4 million increase in value from Reddit. Rigetti lost 1.13% to 11.35. That takes their calls 10.13% out of the money. They've got 12,000 plus of them expiring this Friday and another 2,400 expiring next Friday. That was a $199,000 decrease in value. RH up 3.5% to 189.10. Just barely out of the money still at 0.48%. $413,000 increase. SMCI up 3.15%, so they were sitting basically right at the money, and then increased by 3%. They went ahead and closed these, kind of cut their loss, and rolled the options to next week. So $470,000 increase in value. Tempest AI down 1.44% to 69.10. They've got calls this week for $76 that are basically 10% out of the money, and next week for $75, 8.5% out of the money. $247,000 decrease in value. TNA, second triple leverage fund, up 1.57% to 31.02. Another one they've got calls for this week and next week. Same strike price, 4.77% out of the money. $292,000 increase in value. You thought you were going to catch how much we made down here, but I blurred it out. TQQQ, the last triple leverage fund, lost 0.14% to 73.46. Calls are 3.46% out of the money, $31,000 decrease. Tesla up 1.8% to 322.05. Calls this week for 337.50 are 4.8% out of the money, and next week for 330 are about 2.5% out of the money. $450,000 increase. Upstart had a big day, 10.64% increase to 5908, a $2.3 million increase in value. They rolled these 55s to next week, and they still have these 56s that are 5.2% in the money. Vertiv Holdings up 2.12% to 119.08. They rolled their options, $224,000 increase. And whatever Vertiv does, Vistra follows. So they went up also 2.03% to 181.13, taking them, they were 0.03% out of the money. Now they're 2% in the money. $317,000 increase. That brings us to a grand total, $19,633,101 increase in value. So set the record on Monday with the biggest single day increase in value, and then broke the record on Wednesday. So that's the reason we're losing trades, is because the value of the stocks have exploded. But big picture, that's okay. It's working out for us. All right. There was a 1.7 million share increase to 83.5 million. That's where all the money came from to buy all those shares we talked about on the last page. So this 513 was actually as of close yesterday. It will be higher when we open up tomorrow. Well, we won't open up tomorrow. The market's closed, but we'll be able to get the holdings download. All right. That's it for ULTY. Let's take a look at LFGY. All right, LFGY. We generally don't go over the individual trades, but we've got a decent amount of rolls to next week, so we will talk about some of them. Okay, so BitDeer closed this week, opened next week, went ahead and lowered the strike price from 14 to 12.50, profited 82,000. CleanSpark closed this week's 10s and opened next week's 9.50s. Let me make sure. Yes. All right. Obviously, it's a win. 2 cents to close, 3 cents to close. Really only getting 19 and 20 cents to open, though. But either way, $111,000 increase. Coin had the huge increase day, blew through the strikes, so they had to close them out, sell new ones for next week, but it was still $1 million loss. Core Scientific, what do we got? Closing this week, rolling to next week. It was a win, right? Closed for 3 cents, opened for $3,000. Galaxy closed 47 contracts and sold them for next week, 1,000. GameStop, again, closing for a win, 25.50s. For 5 cents, they paid 24.50s for next week for 44 and 45 cents. $56,000 increase. Hut 8 Corp closing some more for wins, right? 19 strike, 4 cents to close them, 2 cents to close them. All right. Selling SS is sell short, so that's a sell to open. That's a buy to close. Selling the new ones for 50-ish, 51, 54 cents. $110,000 increase. Mara, another one, closing them out for a win. 2 cents to close, 44 cents to open the new ones. Out the next week, dropping the strike price from 17 to 15. $4,000 increase. NU, small stuff, $2,000 increase. Oprah, $52,000 increase. Closing out their 20s for a penny and selling 20s all the way out to July 18th for 19 cents. 52,000 and a small close on Riot, profiting 3,200, 3,000. All said and done, lost $579,000 trading. That was really all because of the loss on coin. All right, as we go through the stocks within the fund, BitDeer lost 7.09% to 1180. They rolled their options, $322,000 loss. CleanSpark went up 3.15%, to 918. They also rolled their options to next week, $164,000 profit. Coin, right? We took a $1 million loss on the options, but we picked up a $2.6 million increase in value as coin went up 16.32% to 295.29. Again, rolled the options. Core Scientific up a fraction to 11.90, right? Up a penny, really, because they closed at 11.89 the day before. $6,000 increase. They closed out their further out of the money options, obviously much smaller, 172 contracts. They left the 5,800 contracts. They're 5% out of the money. They'll be able to close them probably for a penny on Friday. Galaxy Digital up almost 3% to 1904. They closed their smaller portion, 47 contracts, and rolled them to next week. They left open the 1,000 contracts that are still 7.67% out of the money. They're till next Friday, as you can see there. $60,000 increase. GameStop up nearly 2%, 23.44. They rolled the options. It was a win. $84,000 increase. Robinhood up 4.54% to 78.35. Took them just barely in the money, almost a 0.5%. $362,000 increase. They'll be rolling them on Friday. Hut 8 Corp up 0.25% to 17.03. They closed these all out for wins and rolled them to next week. $15,000 increase. iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF, which is stock ticker IBIT, lost 0.89% to 58.97. $111,000 decrease in value. No options traded on IBIT. Mara Holdings down 1.23% to 14.49. They went ahead and rolled their smaller position, 191 contracts, but they left the 6,500 contracts that are 10% out of the money. So just going ahead and letting that drop as low as possible on Friday. Where are we at? 14.49, right? So as long as it stays under 16, those will. MBTX, they don't hold any shares, right? So we don't track the value increases and decreases of the shares because we don't have them. But they went to 245.77. That leaves their calls 5.79% out of the money. They're out till July 18th, so we're not worried about them yet. And then they have a put spread, and it's actually a debit put spread. So they purchased the more expensive one with the feeling that the price is going to drop below 230. So it's heading in the right direction for them. That's currently the value of that is up. I think they paid $5 million for it, so it's up to $6 million. Melli, Mercado Libre, up a little over 0.5% to $2,402.75. Still 1.55% out of the money, expiring on Friday. $31,000 increase. MicroStrategy down 1.64% to 369.03. What do we have? 5.68 and 6.36% out of the money. $233,000 decrease. NU Holdings up 1.16% to 12.24. They closed out this Friday's 13s and rolled them to next week, but they left the 12s for next week for now. They're 1.96% in the money, $58,000 increase. Almost at the end. NVIDIA Corp up 0.94% to 145.48. Still 0.36% out of the money, but these got to make it to next Friday, so good luck with that one. $34,000 increase. Opera up 0.75% to 18.58. They rolled this week's 20s out. They still have the July 18th 20s open, 7.64% out of the money. $41,000 increase. PayPal Holdings lost almost 3% to 68.57. Their options are sold till next Friday at 73, 6.46% out of the money, $110,000 decrease in value. Riot Platforms up 2.9% to 994. They closed their smaller position that was further out of the money. They rolled it, but they still have 6,000 plus contracts at 1050. They're 5.63% out of the money. They'll be closing them on Friday. $177,000 increase in value on the day. Tesla up 1.8% to 322.05, still 3.24% out of the money, $105,000 increase. And finally, Block down 0.36% to 63.09. These are out till next Friday, 4.6% out of the money, $11,000 decrease in value. So that's a grand total of almost $2.9 million increase in value to the fund. So they lost $500,000 trading, and they increased their value by nearly $3 million. There was a small increase, 50,000 shares, bringing the outstanding shares up to 3.5 million. This number will update in the morning. It'll go up a little bit. So that's about it. If you made it through all that, you deserve a dad joke of the day. So we'll get right to it. So if you made it, thank you. I appreciate you watching. Please like if you liked it. Please subscribe if you're not already. We're getting pretty close to the goal, 1,000 subscribers. We're up to 846. There's a secondary goal to, let's see, YouTube Studio, just to give you an update on that. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. If I can't find it real quick, we'll just cancel. Okay, so watch hours. Nah, that's not what I want. Okay, I can find it on the app on my phone, but I can't find it on here. But basically, you need 4,000 watch time hours before. You need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours before you even have the ability to start making any money from YouTube. This is my average last 28 days. I'm at like 1,900. So we're about at the halfway point on watch hours, and we're obviously 84% of the way for the subscribers. So so if you really want to help me out, click on the playlist and then just walk away. But anyway, that's it. All right, dad joke of the day. I had to get a second one because I already used the calendar one on the other video, and then I didn't carry it down here with me, so I got to remember it. Why did the pony ask for a drink of water? Because it was a little hoarse. My daughter came up with that one. So, okay, after 10 o'clock at night, let's go ahead and end this. You got all day tomorrow to watch it because there's no trading to do. Hopefully, you're off tomorrow and you get to relax. I'll be working. Not sure. I don't think I'll make a video since there won't be anything to talk about. But either way, catch you on the Friday video. Have a good night and good luck trading on Friday.